Hey, welcome to World Entertainment, and you can see the headline right there. It seems to be official. How the Grinch Stole Christmas sequel in development. Jim Carrey and Ron Howard return. Now this is interesting because I did a video last year, the year before even, about Jim Carrey starting to talk about actually having interest to return as the Grinch. Because he basically said, at this stage, the way makeup works nowadays and CGI and stuff, there's easier and quicker ways to do that makeup, because he was notoriously awkward to work with on that movie because he was absolutely enraged by the process of that makeup. But he has talked about his interest. A fan asked him, I think, at one of the Sonic premieres, and he hinted that, yeah, he's finding himself interested in returning to the Grinch. And now it seems to be happening. You're officially going to get the Grinch 2 with Jim Carrey. So let's take a look at this, shall we? By the way, I haven't seen any news since the kind of first one broke about the Jetsons movie, the live action movie with him. So don't know what's happening with that, but let's take a look at this one. So it's saying, an exclusive from The Hollywood Reporter reveals that Universal and Imagine Entertainment are developing a sequel to the 2000 film How the Grinch Stole Christmas, with the first movie star, director and producer returning. Jim Carrey will reprise his role as the classic Dr. Seuss character, the Grinch, with Ron Howard returning as director, while also producing with Brian Grazer, with whom he founded and runs Imagine Entertainment. Alec Begg of Silicon Valley and Barry will write the currently untitled sequel with Jeff Schaefer of Life, Larry and the Pursuit of Unhappiness, and Dave. Okay. Is Life the movie with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence? Because that was a great movie. Or is that the shitty sci-fi, is it Venom prequel type of movie with Ryan Reynolds that was god awful? And Dave, isn't that the movie with what's his name? Why am I blanking on his name? The dude from Wild Wild West, where he's like the president or something. Don't know. And David Mandel of Veep, the same team that wrote the 2003 adaptation of another Dr. Seuss classic, The Cat in the Hat. That's not great news because that was sucked. Starring Mike Myers. All three also wrote for Larry Davison's Curb Your Enthusiasm. How the Grinch Stole Christmas 2000 was written by Jeffrey Price and Peter S. Seaman. Seaman. Who also, I know I'm fucking 12. Who also wrote Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Wild Wild West. And maybe it is Dave then if it's Wild Wild. That's funny. You get Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was a great movie, and then Wild Wild West, which was not such a great movie. Unless it's the original Wild Wild West, not the Will Smith one. Was it Klein? Something Klein? Kevin Klein? Is that his name? Was that the dude's name from Wild Wild West with Will Smith? Could be. Can't remember. So, How the Grinch Stole Christmas was originally a child's book written by Theodore, how do you pronounce that? Gazelle? I have no idea. Aka Dr. Seuss, in response to his observation that Christmas was becoming too commercialized. Published in 1957, it tells the story of the most crankiest, grumpiest, meanest, surly green creature. Originally, the story was drawn in black and white. Chuck Jones, the co-director of the animated feature, decided to make the Grinch green with a heart 2 sizes too small, who lives alone with his dog in a snowbound cave on the side of Mount Crumpet, overlooking the town of Whoville. One day, the Grinch decides to venture down to Whoville to ruin Christmas by stealing all the gifts, decorations, and even the Christmas feast. So, Dr. Seuss and Pat, it's kind of just going on now about the books and stuff. At the 73rd Academy Awards, How the Grinch Stole Christmas won Best Makeup and Hairstyle and earned nominations for Best Production Design, blah blah blah, which is funny. They won awards for this makeup, and Jim Carrey fucking despised it. The plot of the How the Grinch Stole Christmas sequel remains unknown, but there's certainly a plethora of possible mishaps and blunders that will allow the writers to keep the original plot. What they could do? They could say because he eventually, his heart grew and he became good and stuff like that. You could have the story that after he went back up to the cave, the town people ignored him, and he grew like frustrated again and stuff like that. You could always do that type of thing, or you could have that something else comes in to try and steal Christmas. But then, of course, how would you call it? The Grinch Stole Christmas. Or there's a new Grinch that comes along. Maybe he has a son. Please don't do that. Just have it as like his brother or something. Don't do a son. Because then you're asking the question like, what did it sleep with to have a son? It's also easy to imagine in what direction Hollywood may go with the new plot. With the Grinch having witnessed, despite the removal of decorations, presents, etc., the true spirit of Christmas, having him become wary of his newfound life of goodness and decide it's time to revert to his old ways and blah blah blah. That's kind of what I was talking about. So I do think it is interesting that they are looking to actually do this movie, and that Jim Carrey is like, yep, let's do it. Because again, he was notoriously awkward on the set because of the makeup. But I even said this in my video, whenever I did it last year, the year before, when he said he was interested, that they don't even have to actually do the makeup. You could do partial parts of the makeup, but then just CGI the rest of it. Now, don't do the rush job where the CGI looks god-awful, where you can really just go, yeah, it's clearly CGI. Do it properly. Take your time with it and do it properly. But overall, like, obviously the hands, I think you'd have to do the hands practical. Maybe parts of the hair or something on the head you could do practical, but just the overall face, I think you could do CGI with that. Don't know. Of course, the advancements in how they do makeup, like, you think of it, the makeup back in the days could take up to 8 hours, sometimes 9 hours to put on, and now they've managed to cut that down to, like, we can do it in 3 hours in some cases. It's something like that. I don't know if you could get that down to like 3 to 4 hours. Maybe you could. You're still asking the question, though, would he want to sit there for that long of a process? And then, of course, it takes something like 2 hours to take the shit off. So I think they would kind of lean more into, let's just use CGI, at least on the face. Again, the hands, that's clear. The gloves type things, the legs, trouser type things. But the face, I think, is where you go, yeah, we'll just use CGI for it. Hopefully, though, hopefully it's the right story they do. Hopefully they don't modern day it, and just make it fucking about a message, like making a Christmas movie at this stage, with how the world is, like, okay, all these so-called lovely doctors and nurses that our countries are importing. I'm sure they'll be thrilled with Christmas movies. You know what I mean? But overall, he is set to return, as is Ron Howard, so at least you have the original two. So what do you guys think? Would you be excited for a brand new The Grinch Who Stole Christmas 2, I suppose, with Jim Carrey and Ron Howard? Let me know. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like and share and subscribe and hit the hype button and all that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.